Hello, everybody. Welcome to Comics with Bueller on Friday night. It's a great night. Once again, I have no date. Sorry about the wait there. We had a little bit of technical difficulties on our end, but it looks like we got it figured out. Hopefully, everything looks and sounds well. I'm not alone tonight. I do have a very special guest for the second time, and I'll just go ahead and turn it over to my special guest. Say hello.
Ooh, hello, Bueller. It is so good to be here with Bueller's community, with the comic book community. It's always good to see you. I love the show, and thank you so much for having me on again. Am I your second guest, like
No,
repeat guest?
no.
No, I'm not, right? Okay, so it's nothing special, not at all, nothing special. It's okay.
You're the second of the person who's repeated. My buddy Sam has been on a couple times. So
okay. Sam's got me, but I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
But you are my second person as far as streaming from somewhere else in the country. So there you go. You have that thing going on. So how you doing, Tom? How's it been going?
Bueller, it's been going so good. It's Friday. You got me on a good day because it means that if you're seeing me on your stream at 5:30 on a Friday, it means the top 10 list has already been posted. CBSI's list got to me. We made a video. We got it out to the comic fam. I'm feeling good because we had a lot of people waiting on that video, which means that I can rest and begin my weekend relaxed. I feel stress-free, but I guess it's not going to, I can't relax yet because I've been brought onto the mic tonight to join you to have a very serious and debatable topic.
Yeah, we're gonna cover variants tonight, and it's gonna be a great topic. Obviously, here's the thing why I like about this topic. Everybody's very passionate about this hobby, and even though we might not just agree on a lot of stuff, we all care about the hobby and love the hobby, and that's why it's such a great topic to talk about. And I'm glad to have you on here, someone with a differing opinion of myself, and we're going to have at it here in a few minutes. I'm excited. Would you say you're excited?
I am extremely excited. I want to know from the comic fam, because we have so many people packing the house right now, Bueller. How are they feeling?
I hope they're doing good. Let me take a look at the chat here. So we got a ton of people in here. First off, we got my moderators. I always like to give them a shout out. I got my buddy Sam's Tangled Web. He's a great guy. Like I said, he's been on my channel a couple times. Also, my other moderator, you might know this guy, John's Comics with Kids.
Yeah, he's a homie. He is co-host with Kate and Charlie on their YouTube channel, I believe.
That's right. Yeah. And you want to know how many subscribers do you think John's Comics with Kids has?
Oh, he's got to be pushing over 100 now. He's got to be pushing what?
Well, I'll tell you how many he has. He doesn't have enough. That's what he has.
Enough. There we
go. He doesn't have enough.
Not
okay.
Enough.
And neither does Sam. Sam's Tangled Web. My two moderators, two great guys. Both their links are down below. Please take some time. Go look at their channels. Check them out. If you like what you see, please support them. They're both great guys, and they both do a lot for the community, along with Tom. And guess what? His link is down below as well. So if you're not subscribed to Tom, which I'd be surprised if you weren't, you can go do it on this one. So that's pretty cool, right?
Oh, I think that's extremely cool. It's one of the coolest things you can do is be a subscriber to both of our channels. Hit that button if you haven't already. And thank you so much to everyone who's joining us on this Friday evening, kicking off their Friday with some comic book discussion.
And you know what? We already got a couple super chats, believe it or not.
Ooh,
and that's because of you, man. You bring in the love.
You know, super chats are that's such a nice thing to do. We do appreciate whenever peeps help support the show, especially Bueller's show. Like Bueller, your show has improved so damn much. The mic, I'm loving the mic. Every time I'm listening to your weekly review of comics, I'm just like, I can just relax. I can listen to your voice and get all the comic books. It's great.
Here's the thing, guys. Tom was like yelling at me for like months. Dude, get a mic. I'm tired of telling you this. I'm gonna buy you a mic. Just go get a mic. I mean, I was like, okay, Tom. Okay, Tom. He was on me constantly about getting a mic. Thank you. I was planning on doing it. Luckily, it came available to me, so I used your advice and I picked up a pretty good one. So I'm pretty happy about that.
No, it sounded good.
We got, let me look at these super chats here. We got first one from Economics and Comics, Bueller Fund, and he says, sick and he said his catchphrase is sick. I don't know if you've ever
Oh my
watched his
goodness.
videos, but he goes
Oh,
sick or
yeah,
something like that. So
screams sick in the
yeah.
mic every so often. It's a fun thing.
Yeah. And then we got Scott Farr. He also did another super chat. He's a multiple entry on my Bueller vest, which is like, I don't know if you, I'm going to kind of turn around, but every super chat, I write the names on the back
Oh
of
my
the
god, look
vest.
at that. That's actually really cool.
Yeah.
I
So
had
like,
no idea you did that.
oh yeah. Well, maybe you should watch more videos of mine.
Jeez,
but
I've never seen the Bueller vest, the back of the Bueller vest.
but he's on the vest a few times along with economics and comics. And I just keep writing the names on there until this thing is filled up, and then I'll have to get a new vest.
What's the next color? I want to know from the comic fam in the chat what color vest you want to see Bueller wearing or design. You know, because I used to work at a tuxedo shop. I used to do that for
Nice.
people and like hook them up with their suits and stuff before their wedding. And there would be all these different kinds of vests. And I'd always have to steer people towards the ones that look the best. And it's amazing how many ugly vests exist. So I'm curious what our audience wants to see you wear, because you started out with that black, which is dope, but we got to get you some color there.
Yeah, I'm looking. There's some red, fuchsia, pink, purple.
All right, let's see.
You know, I can
I'm
pull it off.
feeling. I'm feeling the pink. I'm feeling
Pink.
pink. I think.
You know what? I'm comfortable in pink, so I'm pretty in pink, man. So the more, the better. But we got more super chats in here, and God, I gotta keep track of this. New comic smell. I'd be lost without your weekly release videos, Bueller. Thank you so much, New Comic Smell.
Oh my gosh,
I'd be lost as well, man. Those are a lot of work, but I enjoy doing them.
Same here.
We have Cody Oder Evans. Okay, I think he changed his name. Cody, did you change your name? If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, but your profile name might be different. I don't know. Hope this helps. Thank you. It does most definitely. And then Scott Farr again. Thank you again. Scott Farr is getting his name on the vest double tonight, so that's pretty cool. And just looking in the chat, and I'm sorry, I always got to point out my daughter's here again. Paige, hello, I love you. So good to have her on here. You know, she actually jumped into a live stream on another show with me a couple weeks ago.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
it's good to see your kids get involved. You know, they made a lot of appearances over this last year. I'm excited to see what 2019 has in store.
Yeah, I gotta. Well, my son lives with me now, but he won't get on behind the camera. And my daughter, I just got to get her here. I don't think she'd have a problem. But anyway, let's go ahead and jump into a couple of things I want to cover. This is just some, cleanup type stuff, but I want to mention a few things. First thing is, everybody who purchased the Bueller box, they're all mailed out. They're all sent. I sold 65 Bueller boxes in one day, and they are all gone. I double checked the tracking, so they are on their way. And I want to mention something that's kind of cool. The next round of Bueller boxes, and actually from now going on, 10% of the profits from the Bueller box I'm donating to the Hero Fund from now on. So that's something I want to do. It's a charity that I really enjoy, and 10% of the profits are going to go towards the Hero Initiative. So there you go. And also, the next round of, and Tom, I don't know if you saw this, but yesterday I picked up 29 slabbed comics for $100. So about $3.30 a slab. And I'm going to keep a couple of them, and I'm giving away a couple as gifts. But the other, I think 20 or 23 are going in the next round of the Bueller boxes. Same price, same price shipping, same price, all that stuff. They're sitting right there. So those will be in the next round of Bueller boxes, and those will probably be in about a week or 2 weeks away. So I'm looking forward to doing that.
Heck yeah. Okay. That's awesome, Bueller.
All right. Tom, say something. I got to take a drink real quick.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm saying something right now. Bueller just got done talking about his box. Tomorrow, the 15th, is the last day to sign up for our boxes. So it sounds like your box is sold out. So there's all these people here that are itching for another box.
That's right.
So I might as well let you know about my mystery mail call. We have the mystery mail call. The 15th of the month is the last day to sign up for your box for that month, which is tomorrow. We have a lot of great comics going out. Our community is growing, and I'm excited to end the year with a bang. We have the first and second appearance of X-23. We got geez, Key Swamp Thing, Key Constantine, First Constantine, multiple copies of a lot of great stuff. And yeah, tomorrow at midnight's the last day to sign up. And for all of the Mystery Mail Call members who are watching, tomorrow is the last day to post your mail call on Instagram, because we do a raffle, a free bonus box. And you know what? I think we're doing more than one this month. For those who participate by posting their mail call on Instagram. You've seen our raffles that we do, Bueller. What do you think about them so far?
You give away a lot of books. That's pretty
right,
cool.
I'm going broke.
You're shipping the post office is like, God, give me a break. There's that Tom guy again. They're probably just late, and every time they see you pull up, it's like everybody runs.
They don't like me. But you know,
I don't blame them.
I do what I got to for the comic fam.
We have another super chat by Mr. Grexy9966. He said, Bueller, you need a red vest. So I'm thinking about a red vest. I think that'd be kind of cool. So maybe a red or white one. I don't know. I'm definitely gonna have to get a new vest eventually. So I appreciate these suggestions. A couple other housekeeping things here. I don't know if you're aware of this, but on Saturday and Sunday, the Great Legend Show, and there's a link to his channel down below. He's doing a charity auction, or he's hosting the charity auction, and everything starts at 99 cents. Go to the auction. It's Saturday and Sunday. And if you click on his channel, you'll find out some more information. It's being brought to you by Strictly Comics, is the one who actually put this together. And then the Great Legend Show is the one hosting the auction. All the proceeds from this auction are going to the Hero Initiative, 100% of the proceeds. And the auction started out with 99 cents. So very cool. It's a weekend event. It's a big deal. The Hero Initiative is involved, and take some time, go check it out. I don't know if you were aware of that, Tom, but it's going to be pretty big. I've seen some of the books that are in this auction, and they're all awesome.
No, I haven't heard anything about it. I'm very interested to look into that.
All right. Well, make sure you do, Tom, because you might need to buy some books to put them in your mystery mail call.
It's starting to sound like it. It's starting to sound like it.
Okay. And then I want a couple other things that we'll get to the top. There's so much on my list today. I do another show called The Comic Core. It's on tonight, 7 o'clock, right after this one, 7 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. We do it every week. It's a lot of fun. It's kind of Bueller After Dark. I get the kind of cut loose, and I have a good time, and it's interesting to say the least. One last thing. My next guest for next week's show is Nick from Key Collector Comics, which you know him.
I do. Nick is a good man.
So I'm excited. That's the app. He designed the app and stuff, and I'm really looking forward to having him on the show. We're going to talk about his app, all the different stuff that it does. And I've never met him. I know you've met him and stuff, but I'm looking forward to hanging out with him and getting to know the guy behind the app.
Oh, definitely. And if you guys haven't met Nick, if you guys haven't gotten his app, you should. It's a free app and it's very useful. But he also has a YouTube channel, and he's been working hard on producing some really quality content. So I'm excited to see him be more active in this comic community.
Yeah, he's put a lot of time and money and effort into this app and everything that he's doing. So my hat's off to the guy. I'm really looking forward to having him on the show. But that's it. That's the housekeeping right there. We're going into it right now, Tom.
All right, let's do it.
I'm tired of this.
I'm tired of this too, man. We're 20 minutes in, and you're telling me we got to talk about variants. You got a differing opinion. What's going on, Bueller?
Okay, variants, man. What's the deal with you? I heard you say one time, the more the better.
The more the
Where
better.
is that coming from? Tell me why you feel that way.
Okay. Why not? I guess. Do you want to know why I think it's good to have more covers? Because we haven't discussed. There's been no prep for this, so I'm curious to find out where this conversation.
I prepped. I'm prepped.
Oh, I'm always prepped, man. But I'm saying we haven't prepped, as in this conversation hasn't happened yet. So you want to know why I think the more the better? Because if we have more covers, it means we have more artists getting involved. More artists means more work for artists, and more opportunity to meet customer demand, rather than just banking on 1 or 2 or 3 covers being really popular. We can look at like Batman Who Laughs, where there's almost an uncountable amount of comic books that are coming out, And if you don't like that main print and that would turn you off to buying it, maybe there's one of the other 30 that you may like. And even if one more person decides to read that series, that's a win for me, because that's more people reading comics.
So I hear you say that, like, as far as an artist goes, it gives more artists opportunity, and that's one area to look at it.
Sure.
And but if you take that outside, it also makes more competition for artists as well. To where, like, I've talked to artists who work on covers, and they did a cover, and then they didn't know that they were doing a variant cover, or someone else was doing it, and they kind of get taken back because they thought they were the only one on that cover, and then they find out that somebody else is commissioned to do it as well. It actually creates a little bit of jealousy because I actually heard artists tell that it's like, yeah, that cover was better than mine. I mean, do you think that's, I don't know if that's healthy type thing. I would rather have, instead of doing another cover, make another book, come up with another character, put that artist on something else.
Yeah, I think that that's wishful thinking. I don't think that I think there's first off, if we look at numbers, like when it really comes down to it for how comic book sales are going, it's not great. Like the numbers
No.
haven't been great. There's a lot of YouTubers who that's all they do is they report on just how poorly the direct market is. And you know, if they're for every artist that's I guess the way I look at it is for the artists that I know, the ones that are really hustling, that are actually cranking out content, the ones I've met, if they're complaining about like, "Oh, this cover I did isn't as good as this other one," like it's this competition and they're worried about it,
Mhm.
then I think that is more of a reflection on their work ethic and not as much as like just someone who is super successful, because you know who isn't having those conversations? Matina.
Right.
Like the list, like there's I know that Jock doesn't care about any other artist's cover. And granted, Matina and Jock, yeah, they're some of the best out there right now, but the list goes on. You know that all these different like creators that are actually doing really well, they don't think about that kind of stuff. They're already working on the next cover and the next cover. When I saw Donnie Cates in New York City Comic Con, I had the retailer incentive, which was done by a different artist. And he stopped in line and was like, "Oh my gosh, I totally forgot that they were releasing this here. I haven't even seen it yet." Like these guys are months out because they're working on stuff so late in advance. I don't know. I don't. It's kind of like Boohoo. Oh, the art the cover you did 3 months ago or 2 months ago isn't as good as the three other ones that came out there. I think competition's great. Um, and most variants don't sell like crazy. So the ones that do, it's probably because they deserve it.
So let me ask you, you brought this up just a little bit ago. You said retailer variants, and there's a difference between a retailer variant. What is your thought on a retailer variant?
Oh, um, I don't have a problem with it. I don't have a problem with any variants. I think it's all great.
So I have a quote, and I want to bring this up because, like I said, I did some research, man. I was like sitting there and I would read the articles and stuff like that. This is a quote from a publisher at Image Comics. Okay, the retail variants that are published are pointless. These are short-term cash grabs that do nothing to the book's health. Would
Ooh,
you agree with the publisher at Image Comics about retailer variants?
absolutely not. I completely disagree with them, and I'll tell them I know exactly why. These publishers, and you know what? The first thing, I bet if you ask that to someone at Marvel or DC, they wouldn't say the same thing. Um, Image Comics is independent. These are
Mhm.
independent titles. They thrive on the story. If the story is really, really freaking good, it's gonna do well. It doesn't need to have an incentive variant because you know what? They're not gonna produce the amount of comics to even be in competition with anything on the market anyways, because nobody's picking it up like Spider-Man. No one's picking up an Image comic. But when you have a Saga or you have heck, um, I'm thinking of a couple Aftershock comics. I got like so many Donny Cates books on the mind, but insert successful Image book here,
Yeah.
that does well. And it's because of the story. It's not because there was a super incentive variant or something like that. And this is the reason why I think it doesn't matter and why I would disagree with Image and why I think if they did do more special variants, which by the way, Robert Kirkman does a hell of a lot of special variants. And I happen to know for a fact that that guy knows that it does affect the market because he goes out of his way to do a ton of different secret variants. And he's the main guy at Image Comics now, the chairman. Um, it does, in my opinion, incent the collector's market. And if you ignore the collector's market, you are ignoring the bulk of what actually like is going to make these comic books survive long term. Because a good story only takes the book so far, but when you have collectors that will spend 3 or 4 times per book because they're buying multiple copies, that's actually what causes the stores to thrive. When the stores thrive, they buy more comics from their distributor. So, yeah, if there is a milestone at 100 comics, it's going to be better. And I'll tell, and then my one last point is that I'll tell you one thing: if a store owner goes out of their way to buy 100 copies of a comic book because they have 75 customers that are spending it, they're also trusting that those 75 customers are going to come into the shop to pay that. A lot of them don't. A lot of stores go out of business because of that. Being able to say, you know what, we're going to risk it. We're going to buy 25 more comics because Sean McGuire is killing it this month
Yeah.
on Ghost Spider, and we're going to get that 1 in 100. Maybe this 1 in 100 variant will be $100 back in the store's wallet to make up for the fact that they're having to buy more comic books. Holy smokes, this one variant's going for over $1,000. Aren't you glad we picked this up, LCS, who's barely making any money?
Do you think that the variants, and I'm going to quote someone here, a shop owner, variants used to be special, and that's quoted from a shop owner. Would you agree with that? And do you know who said that, by the way?
I'm hoping you don't say Russ.
I'm going to say Russ.
No,
it was Russ, and it was on your video.
Oh, geez.
Variants used to be special.
Interesting.
And that's, and you actually did a video about variants and stuff like that. And in that video, you didn't really voice too much of your opinion. You let Russ do it. And it's
Sure.
nice to hear Russ because he's a shop owner and he knows all the hoops. And I want to kind of go back around to the big two, okay? The Marvel and DC,
Sure.
and the different business models that those guys are putting out. As far as some numbers go, I did some research on some numbers for the sales figures for October. Marvel had 37% of the market and DC had 33% of the market. During the month of October, Marvel put out 95 new titles and DC put out 78 new titles. Marvel had an average of 4 variants for every 1 comic. DC had an average of less than 2 variants for every comic at the same time. Now, Marvel has a higher percentage, but when you figure, taking the fact that they published 95 different titles in comparison to DC 78, DC actually has a higher overall percentage. Their model is half, okay? And Marvel is inflated because they're putting out tons of books with variant covers that inflate the sales that don't reflect a solid business model. DC is doing something opposite and getting more of the lion's share. Would you think that Marvel would see that and say, hey, maybe we should stop making 11 variants for issue 701 or something like that?
I don't think so. I can't speak for Marvel and DC, obviously. What I do think is that we have to think of it even outside. We have to go even deeper than that because these comic books that come out on these big publishers, you just said it, there's 90 some odd different titles in just Marvel alone, right?
Yeah.
What does that mean? Does it mean that there's one person deciding, okay, we're going to have this many variants in all of these different ones. This is how it's going to look like. We're going to do this many here, and they're spending all, like, imagine the coordination of doing a massive attack plan of let's make sure we have 200 variants this month to meet the need. Like, I'm sure they have a slight quota that, overall percentage that they're trying to allocate. And, every month they're looking at the numbers to go, okay, we had this much percent increase. So we're going to try to match the variant. Like, they do their things for a reason, but there are so many that we need to look at it even deeper. These 90 plus different comics, what is that? These are like 90 plus, I don't know, well, I can't remember the number you said, but 90 plus different businesses. These are teams of people that are all producing a piece of content. If they're granted as many variants as they can, it sells the book more. At least that's the hope. More more variety of covers means more people may buy it. You do risk turning someone off to the whole thing, and that's a good,
Yeah.
that would be a fair critique to that. But I find it hard to believe that year over year, because it's only gotten to be more, that they're continuing to do it because there is a positive response to it. And the ones that have the crazy amount of variants, it's like the ones that DC does in a way, like it's their big title of the year. Like
Yeah.
there's only been a handful of titles that had like to the point where in your video you go like, I'm not even gonna name it. I'm just gonna let them do it for me because there's so many.
Event books is what they are.
Yeah.
They're event books.
Event books, yes, and that's the bulk of them. But like a handful of variants every single, and every so often, I mean, I don't think it's hurting anyone.
Well, we do have another super chat. This is from a little bit earlier. This is from Steve Whitting, I believe. It says internet fund. People are always donating to my internet fund because I borrow the neighbor's internet still. So I got to get better internet. Did you get better internet? You were talking about it. Did you get it?
Heck yeah, man! Finally, I got better internet.
That's good. Good to know.
Took long enough.
So I did a little bit of other stuff, and I want to take in consideration of this week's books. Like you mentioned my video that I put out, and just the one I put out yesterday, and I'll give you a rundown. So Marvel, on there was 28 separate Marvel titles that were on that video. And there's 95 variants that are tied into those 28 books. 6 books on Marvel's portfolio this last week did not have a variant cover. This is what I could find. There might be more variants out there. There are always other ones that pop up. DC, on the other hand, only had a total of 13 books with 21 covers. 3 of them did not have a B cover. What model do you like better? Do you like Marvel's model of just dumping more variants onto a market? Like last week's Spider-Man had like 8 covers. It wasn't like a special book, but and then DC has their A and their B, and that's it. Unless it's an event title, say like The Batman Who Laughs.
I have to assume that there is a process in place either ahead of time for like what they're projecting to want to do for variants, as well as a kind of a plan B of how is this book doing? Are we going to pay the money to put additional comic books to press to motivate sales? My model is whatever their analytics show is going to sell the most books, because we have a lot of books that don't even make it. I'm in talks with, I brought up Sean and McGuire recently because we've been doing some work together. She signed a bunch of books for the mail call and such. And she was telling me about how, as the writer of this story that's going quite well, the pressure it is by issues 3 to 4 to just get these issues to sell. And when they drop to a certain point, you risk like not getting graphic novels made. Like there's these key moments in the series of the issue that these books risk huge profit losses. So I have to say, like, if there's a variant book done by Adam Hughes or J. Scott Campbell for a series that they're really pushing to make sales so that they can keep these people busy, so they can keep these artists and writers going, I'm a fan for that. Make it happen. The thing is, it's a fine line, because what are we talking about here? If there's a variant and there's 2 different variants for Immortal Hulk, what's the print count on Immortal Hulk? It's under 15,000. It's like, what? I think I looked at it last month. It was like 9,000 for Immortal Hulk. That's nothing. So what? They put out 5 variants. They put out 3. It's not going to do any difference. But if there is a event book, or if there's like Fantastic Four #1, like that comes back and there's a crap ton of covers, well, that amount of covers is to drum up excitement for the whole series. It's not so much to say like, it's there to try to like start out with a bang, but they're not doing it to try to get investors involved, because there's not a lot of people going, I'm going to go and buy 50 copies of Fantastic Four #1. Some people may, but it's that difference that makes it not the 90s buying comics and
Yeah.
and where we are now.
I look at it and I see, like I was saying, the two different business models. And, I tried to break it down as far as percentages go. And when I look at it, it's like, I don't understand why Marvel wouldn't adopt that other business model. It seems like less work for them to do if they adopted a business model similar to DC with a very small difference in percentage type thing. It just would make more sense. I think it would be more. I look at it as being more friendly to the average consumer, especially someone who wants to come into a thing and start collecting I want issue such and such of a new book, and they go and they see, well, it's the same book. You turn the front page and it's the same book, but there's 20 different versions of that book. Where do I go? Type thing. And that kind of brings us to our next point, the store owner, the local shop owner, and what they are put through. You want me to? I can quote Russ some more because I watch a bunch more of his stuff.
Do it. What did Russ say?
But anyway, he brought up a variant, the percentile variant, and I'm sure you're familiar with that. Can you kind of elaborate on that for me?
Yeah, sure. You have pay to own variants, some are just like this is out. DC does a lot of those. A lot of the Middleton variants are like that. You can just buy them at cover price. You just have to order them. So when they spike, it's kind of that's why it's exciting. That's why we cover stuff like that so regularly, because some of the stuff anybody could have gotten. But some of these variants, they are limited. So it's like it's depending on how many actually sell at the end of the day. So if Immortal Hulk gets a 1 in 100, but there's only 10,000 of them printed, you can do the math on how many are going to exist in the market. Thus, when we call that tiered variants. So we have like a lot of there's different numbers, different ratios, different publishers have different ratios, and they're all over the place. But some common ones are like 1 in 10, 1 in 25, 1 in 50, and 1 in 100.
Yeah.
Sometimes you see like 1 in 200, 1 in 500 at conventions. But safe to say, if it's 1 out of so and so, right, 1 out of 25, 1 out of 100, you're going to see a different price margin. Sometimes it's not as big as we all would hope, and sometimes it's the cover of the year and it's worth thousands of dollars.
Yeah. Well, Russ is obviously a really good friend of yours. You guys have known each other for a while, and he's in a lot of your videos. So I'm curious to hear your opinion on that, because I know Russ, he probably sits there and he makes his orders and he looks in the variants. It's like, crap, I gotta buy 25 copies to get one of those books. Now he knows in the back of his mind that he's not going to sell 25 of those books, and those are going to end up in the dollar bins or half price bins or whatever he does. He's stuck holding the bag. Another thing that pops up he looks at this book, and you want to get this variant, you have to order 200% of another title. And that is a common practice that Marvel does. I can't quote other ones as far as DC and the other companies. They might do it as well. But that practice to me doesn't make any sense. I mean, I could totally see Russ just sitting there like, I give up. It's like, give me a break. Who comes up with an idea to where you have to buy something else, a percentage of what you bought in another title, just to get a title that's unrelated to the same thing to qualify for that? And I'm gonna kind of ramble a little bit here. Does Diamond have anything to do with that process as well? I mean, does Diamond sit there with Marvel and kind of come up with those quotas or stuff like that? Do you know of that situation?
Not at all. No, it's all Marvel.
It's all Marvel.
Yeah.
So what is your thought on that? I mean, as a shop owner, I just sit there and like, I don't know of any other industry that comes to my mind, and there probably is, but I don't know of any other industry that you have to buy a certain of one product just to be able to buy another product type thing. So I have a hard time with that. I don't agree with it. I think it's shady business practice, and I don't want to support something like that. The model of a 1-for-1 buy-in, I like that. I like the fact that you can either order both, you can order one, or you can order none. To where if you have to go the other way around, I don't think it helps the market on any platform.
Interesting. I think that Okay, so you raised a couple points. So the first thing is we're talking about two different things. We're talking about one particular publisher and how they manage their variants, their
Mhm.
incentive variants versus variants. So as far as how they manage the variants, there's two different ways. Yes, you buy so many and you get it. But if it's like you have to buy so many of this and this to qualify for that, okay, I understand that it doesn't sound like a good thing. I see both sides to it. Personally, I think it could be simpler, but we're talking about comics. And I know it sounds like a what's the best way to put this? I know it's like I always want to give like to any other type of transaction, I would say, no, that sounds crazy. Like, listen to what Bueller just said. But
Yeah.
we're talking about comic books. We're talking about variants. We're talking about incentive variants. There's a reason why this stuff is the way it is. As far as Marvel making people like combine purchases to get another comic book, I don't think that that's great. Maybe they see something on their end that we don't that makes that worth it. I have never been in a position where I'm like, I didn't get this variant I really, really wanted that goes for 25 bucks because the shop didn't order 10 of this and 10 of that. Like, I've just never been in that position. You go to eBay and buy it. I don't think
Yeah.
that it's really affecting anyone. And I doubt that it's really that big of a deal to the average store owner. They probably don't even care. If they have to spend that much more time to do an order, they're probably not concerned that much of the comic book at the end of the day.
Yeah.
However, if they are incented to buy so many, I think it's almost a necessary thing. And Russ may disagree with me on this. However, I do know that post that video where he said that he wasn't a huge fan of variants, he went and bought variants. So like,
Yeah.
and he even acknowledged that too. He's like, you know what? I'm kind of a hypocrite because when it comes down to it, I wanted something. I was okay to pay more for it. And the only way that the publisher got me to pay more for it is by putting me through the ringer and making me do this by either paying more or buying more. And that's what their intent is. Because if we buy more comics are made and the world keeps spinning. So as far as incentives go, there is a couple benefits to it. One end, the shops, right? They're not going for cover price. So that
Yeah.
money, you know, yes, does Russ or comic book shop owner insert here have to pay for an extra 5 or 10 books or an extra 1, 3, 4 bucks? Like a lot of the times, you're not going to see dealers going, "Oh shoot, poor me! I need to spend 40 more. I need to buy 40 more books to get this damn variant. I have to spend and do the math. I mean, 40 at
Yeah.
like $3 a pop. I have to spend $70 what I don't like for this book that I don't want." Comic book shops are not doing that. What they are doing is, well, I'm 3 comics away. Could I pay 6 more? Can I pay $4 more to get a couple more comics, to get a 1 in 25 that I will put up on my wall, market a comic book to my customers. I'll make $25 off of that book. I'm going to actually pay for the extra books I wasn't planning on buying in the first place. And I'll make a couple extra sales and I'll be able to have more on my shelf. Will all of them sell? No, but you're making more money at the end of the day. At least that's the idea. Does it always happen? No.
Yeah.
And the success of a comic book store will be to be able to do that balance. Whether at the end of the day they're filling up their long boxes and not actually selling anything and just ordering too much. But here's the thing: most shops go out of business year over year. The ones that do are typically ones that can't maintain their orders like that. And the ones that are still around complaining, they're doing it and they're doing it successfully.
Um, so I think of it like this, and you brought these up on some of your top 10 lists that you put out. I think one time there was a Star Wars variant that made your top 10, and you had posed a question like, what shop is buying 30 copies of Star Wars to get this variant type thing? And it's variants that are available on books that no shops are buying that many copies of these books. And that's a practice, obviously, that certain publishers do to boost the sales of those books. That's the whole only purpose to do it. No, like you said it very well. Who is buying 25 copies of Star Wars, or who is buying? What shop is ordering 30 copies of Exiles type thing to get the variant? All that is and I'm going to quote. All right, another quote. All right, and this is from a editor-in-chief of Oni Press. Okay, he has said it's a cheap parlor trick that gooses sales. That's from the editor-in-chief of Oni Press. Variants are a cheap parlor trick to goose sales. That's exactly what it is. This is an editor-in-chief of a publisher quoting this type thing. And that's exactly how I look at stuff like that. What do you think about that?
Okay. You just quoted another independent press. Like it's another independent publisher, right?
Well, yeah, it's an independent publisher.
They are unable to make variants to the scale as Marvel or DC. They have nothing else to say besides it's ruining everything. Think of all the writers who talk crap about Wizard. They have nothing good to say about Wizard comics for years. But you know what? As a comic book community, those who actually pay money on the stuff, we all loved Wizard. And those who didn't, they like it now because they're collecting now. It's that dichotomy there. It's just the difference there. If you have an independent publisher who's pumping out stuff, they're unable to do 20 variants. So to them, yeah, it's detrimental. But in order to compete with,
I don't know about that. Dynamite is an independent publisher, and they pump out tons of variants, man. I saw their issue 3 of Kiss, and there's 15 variants for that thing.
I know, and they're doing well. Dynamite, Scout, I mean, all these independents that are doing some variants, they're doing well. Shouldn't they be complaining? Shouldn't they not be producing variants if it hurts the market for the independent comics, as Omni would suggest?
Well, Dynamite has about 3% of the market share, and so does Oni Press. They're actually kind of on the same tier right there. You quote as saying like the independent publisher, they're going to say that, okay, because they're not Marvel or a big publisher, and obviously when you're a big company or whatnot, you're very aware of what you're saying in public because it's going to be published. But I find it hard to believe that behind closed doors, sentiments like that are not shared in the offices of Marvel and DC as well.
Sure.
Would that be something you'd probably agree with? I don't know.
Oh no, I'm sure that the variant conversation is something that is regularly discussed behind closed doors. These are things that affect margins that are probably so close. It's whether or not they want to pull the string or whatever, pull the plug on any one of these titles that are ongoing that people are working on a daily basis. Like tomorrow, we may have a comic book that just gets canceled. They're looking at all these with there was such small margins to make this work. Yeah, I'm sure they're having those types of conversations. I think that there are too many independent publishers right now that are finding success doing variants to say that is harming the independent market, because that's really the risk here. If we're looking at it like that, like Marvel and DC are doing all these variants because they're finding success, and you have these independent publishers saying that, oh, it's ruining the market. Well, who's it ruining for? Because it's not ruining it for Marvel, DC. They're meaning for their other independent publishers. But look at Image. Heck, look at Albatross. Look at the ruckus that recent Albatross, the Grumble, that whole thing where Eric Powell's like, hey, we did random variants and I didn't tell anybody, and oh my gosh, and he made a video and another follow-up video. Bleeding Cool does it. We make a video, you make a post, we're talking about it on Instagram, people are posting, people are tagging, people are taking pictures with themselves. Oh my gosh, this has never happened before, Bueller. We are this is bizarro land. We're taking pictures with our Albatross book from, what is happening? Like that kind of stuff is unheard of until 2018. And it's happening because of a variant, because there is the collector's market, the community, people like you, people like me, but people like our community, the comic book enthusiasts who like the hunt, who like to own stuff that is scarce, that is collectible. We're finally getting attention given to us, unlike it was before. Got to remember us, the fact that you have all those back issues behind you. I see the photo journal behind you. Like, that's awesome, but like all this modern stuff, you could read those digitally, and there's a lot of people with the view that you shouldn't even worry about those because they're just expensive pieces of paper. Not
Yeah.
anymore. We ignore people like that because the collector's market has decided and has shown that these are works of art, and just like an art piece you put up in your home and that you can share with your friend, we're going to pay what we want to pay to own it. And that's something that's different now than any other year that this market's been thriving in.
We have another super chat by Jennifer Courtney. Says, came in late, but still loving this talk. Thank you so much, Jennifer. This is a great time. I'm having a good time, Tom. I hope you are too.
Oh, I'm having a great time. Always, every day.
Every day. So
Holy
you brought
smokes. I'm looking at all these peeps. It's high to 150 peeps joining us in the community. What is going down? Please hit that like button for us. It helps get this video out there. Just do it. Help up the Bueller community.
I always forget to tell people to hit the like button. I'm like, Tom tells me to tell people that. I always forget to do it. So appreciate you covering that base for me, Tom.
Hey man, that's what I'm here for.
So we kind of talked about the publisher. We talked about the store owner. Now let's kind of go to the consumer. You, me, everyone in here. And I want to jump on like a new consumer. And this is, I kind of touched on it a little bit. Isn't it overwhelming? I found it overwhelming. When I got back into the game, like about a year and a half ago, and I walked in to a comic shop and looked on these shelves, and I didn't even know where to begin because there was so many different things to choose from. And I opened the book, and it's the same book. And I didn't even know they were the same book. I like, why are these the same book when I turn the front page? And that's all it is. I don't think it's inviting to new people coming in when they don't even know where to begin. It was already confusing before because comics can be intimidating because you don't know the story and stuff like that. It's always been kind of a niche market for it. It can be a little intimidating. And then you add this on top of that, makes it even more intimidating. What do you think about that?
I think that the last time that getting into comic books wasn't intimidating was back in the 1960s. Back when Stan was managing 12 different issues and you go to the store and you had 12 different issues. Since then, comics has never been welcoming. It's never been inviting. It's Bueller. We have 2 shows that we pump out videos every single day simply because the fact that comic books are overwhelming to get into.
Yep.
Like there's so much that more people are likely to like be interested to get into this and then be immediately turned away when they realize, wait, I want to get into Teen Titans, but they're on volume 7 now. What?
Yeah.
What does that mean? Like, but I want to get into it when Batman Who Laughs. Well, that was volume 6. Like, wait a minute. Like, it's super confusing. It's always been super confusing. And I think when it comes down to it, the answer isn't to blame variants because it's always been confusing. If we say variants, you're making it more confusing. So what? I mean, like it's already confusing. It's not, if it's making it more confusing, we're talking about making it like intolerable to unbearable. Like, no, like, but here's the thing. It's all hope isn't lost because that's why our comic book stores exist.
Yeah.
That's why LCSs have been able to avoid being shut down like your average bookstore by Amazon. It's why, I mean, I'm out here in the Pacific Northwest. Every bookstore out here is gone. Yeah. Every single one. Borders. I mean, think of it. All of the ones that used to go to the mall to, every local bookstore, it's all gone. Amazon comes in, bam, they're gone. I'm in Seattle. There's 70 different Amazon buildings in Seattle. There are no more bookstores. But you know what's untouched? Comic book stores. Because no matter what, Amazon can pump out a bookstore just like they did out here. What they do is they come in, they wipe out all the small business. They say, oh, everything's going to go online. And then they open their own bookstore and say, oh, well, people want to buy books from the bookstore. Well, guess what? They're not selling comic books in there, and they're not going to beat out a local comic shop because the difference is people like us, the comic book
in the know.
Have to be in the know, Bueller. And that is what's going to keep people into comics. That's what gets people when past that hurdle. Because you know what? Once you do figure it out, it's easy. It's easy. You can watch YouTube videos. You can follow Comic Historian, Variant Comics, Comics with Bueller. If you want to learn about statues, hit up Gem Mint. You want to listen about the most recent Gwen's Ghost Spider, John's Comics with Kids got you covered. Hit up the top 10 list every week. We're going to tell you the hottest books in the week that you may have just bought that went up in value. You know, like it's not that hard. I don't think Variance is doing anything to it.
Wouldn't you say, though, you know, we're in a special time. This is a time like we've never seen before. Okay. Comic books, the comic book characters are mainstream, more mainstream than they've ever been. They're the number one thing in the movie. They're the number one thing on TV. People are learning about new comics. Wouldn't you want it to be more inviting instead of putting something on top of an industry that's already not as inviting as it could be?
I think that if somebody walks into a comic book shop and looks at a wall and says, man, I'm looking for Fantastic Four to their friend. Because who goes to a comic book shop by themselves the first time? They always go with a friend. And they're in there and they're really interested in Fantastic Four. But man, there's just so many Fantastic Four covers and they all say 3 and 4 on them. I don't know where to start. And they walk around and no one talks to them. And then they leave because they're confused.
Yeah.
It means that that store failed their customer. It doesn't mean that the publisher didn't do a good job. It means that that comic book store owner who's literally there to introduce these people to those titles, to explain to them, here, let me grab you this reprint so you can catch up on number 1. I'll show you number 2. And do you want a box? Because I can get you 3 and everything else. Yeah. And you know what? That's gonna, like, it's that model. That's what Diamond pays, you know, at these retailer summits where they give out these retailers incentives. It's that type of conversation that's had behind, you know, when the shop stores are closed, when store owners are talking to their retail, their distributors. It's about, how do we make the stores welcoming? How do we make sure that when these customers go in store, that they're being taken care of and they know where to go? And better yet, we're now seeing online content creators like us and others that are in this community, for those individuals who don't have an LCS to be able to get that information. I mean, Bueller, your videos on your weekly, like, what's coming out list is the first I've ever seen of that, where it's every single issue. Yeah. How is it that it took me a decade of being online and multiple years in the community where I'm having to go online and look up in my previews guide and reading like line by line what's going to come out and then Googling variants? But it took Comics with Bueller, a channel of what at the time we were under 1,000 subscribers, to do something that previews should have been doing for 10 freaking years. But you did it because people like us, we know what people like, we know what the community needs, and we're going to come to the mic and do it every day.
Well, that's well said, Tom. I appreciate that. One more thing, Tom, before we kind of wrap things up. Do you believe that we are in the midst of variant fatigue?
Oh, could be. I don't think so. I mean,
I know Russ does.
He's you know, it depends on what day. Because you know what? Here's the thing. You ever watch Comic Book Palace?
I'm not sure. I don't think so.
Okay, this is a show that, okay, I'm not, this group of people, they're not like, they are part of the comic book community, obviously, but they're not like, I've never talked to them, you know, like I have John's number. I talk to Gem Mint almost every week now, but like these guys over there, I don't know them. I just watched their show because it's that good. But Comic Book Palace is legit. It's a local comic shop, and they have the store owner, and this is like your classic, like, you know, head geek running a shop who knows the crap about comics and has his opinions on all the comics, and he knows all of his comics. He's got to sell them.
Larger guy?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I've seen it.
Right?
Yeah.
Knows his crap though. And he's got somebody who is committed to just filming, and he just films. And it's the closest thing to a comic book reality show that we have right now. Like if you were to say Comic Book Men, I don't think of Ming. I don't think of Kevin Smith. I think of Comic Book Palace, and they have like under 5,000 subs right now.
Yeah.
They may be pushing 6, but I want to say they're closer to 4 or 5. It is like, it's awesome what they're doing. And it's like, I'm kind of forgetting where I was going with this, but there's an important point to make, because you asked about variant fatigue. Okay. Yes. Here's my point. I'm wrapping it up with this. If you watch Comic Book Palace, their shows are like 40 minutes long, and it's like It shows you a couple days worth of filming, and it's just the most raw footage. It's the guy catching the customer who's buying a comic, and you're finding out why this person's buying it. And it's the store owner talking to this other customer about a comic book that came in and now it's on the wall and he's trying to sell it, you know? And it's the day in the life. It's as real as it gets. You see in this reality show just how hectic things can get, how
Yeah.
crazy things can get in shop. And you know what? Variant fatigue. I feel like with Russ, it depends on the day you catch him, because if you catch him on a Tuesday, I'll tell you, see, you watch Comic Book Palace, you see how crazy it can get. Yeah, he may be hating variants on Tuesdays because Diamond screwed him, and he's got his variants that came in. They're all screwed up, and now they're bent, and his customers are pissed because he didn't order about this other one. Like, yeah, but another week there is a really cool variant that brings people into the shop. And the next thing you know, he's pulling 3 of them on my shelf, and he kept 3 of them. And oh my gosh, there's a variant that they did a homage to a homage cover to Sandman. We want to get 5 of those, and we didn't even know the comic book existed until today. Those moments happen too, for as much as us complaining about variants. So I mentioned Comic Palace. If you guys want to get a real feel of what the hecticness of a store can be, that can cause some of these almost like pessimistic mentalities sometimes. But it's real. You're getting honesty. But no, I don't think that we are headed towards variant fatigue, because I think that the variants that end up selling, the ones that actually go up in the market, that are worth money at the end of the day, it's ones that deserve it. We're not competing for Turok #1s anymore.
No, we are not.
X-Men #1 comes out with 5 different covers. It doesn't matter if Jim Lee did it. And it's not going to be the most sold comic book ever. It doesn't matter. It just happened. We just had X-Men come out, and there was a ton of covers, and it didn't become the most popular comic book of the era. It's a different time. If it's a Middleton cover, if it's a Jock cover, heck, check out the most recent Judge Dredd Jock covers.
Yeah.
Who's buying Judge Dredd? I am glad that Judge Dredd is doing variant covers. And you know what? I know all the fans of Judge Dredd and Jock are ecstatic too.
Yeah. Well, Tom, this is a great conversation. And honestly, this conversation will go on for years and years to come. And you know what? Me and you will probably have more conversations about this down the road. I got a few last minute things I want to go over, but before, I just want to say thank you for your opinion. Like I said at the beginning of this, it's nice that we can have this conversation about a passion that we both share, and it doesn't take anything away from what we love to collect and what we love to do. Would you agree?
Oh, I completely agree. And what's even more exciting is that it's subject to change. We don't know how this market's going to go. Next week, Marvel may do something completely different, and we can have this conversation. And I'm going, hey, Bueller, I completely disagree with what I was saying before. And you could say, Tom, I love it. I'm buying so many variants now. Like, I think this is an ongoing conversation. It's an evolving one. We need to have more of it. And I appreciate everyone who joined us today and listened and give us a little bit of their time.
I have another couple super chats here. We had one earlier by Economics and Comics, and this was probably one of the best ones on here. Honestly, it says, "Bueller, you're 100% on point tonight." So Economics and Comics, thank you so much. And another one is by a good buddy of mine, Robert Galvin. He says, "Research collectors, average person, research." Love you both, gentlemen. You both are assets to the community, and both of your points and views right on, gentlemen. Thank you, Robert and Laura. Thank you, Robert and Laura. Appreciate that. Robert's a good guy, Tom. I don't know if you had any chance to interact with him, but if you do, take him up because he's got a lot of good things to say. A few other things I just want to close out here, and I'll kind of turn it back over to Tom here in a minute. Like I said before, there's that auction going on this weekend on the Great Legend Show. The link is down below. I want to say thanks to my moderators, Sam's Tangle the Web and John's Comments with Kids. Their links are down below. Like I said, the Bueller box will have slabs in it next time. I'm going to take the slabs that I got, and I'm going to be putting slabs in the next round of Bueller boxes. They're going to be the same price shipping, all that stuff. I think I have around 20 or 22 slabs that are going to go into that. And starting next year, So in 3 weeks, or every 3 weeks, on my live streams on Fridays, I'm going to be doing something new. It's going to be a community members spotlight on Fridays. And what's that is going to be is I'm going to invite 3 people new to the community on my show and spotlight their channels or whatever they're into. If you'd be interested in being part of that, please let me know. My email is down below, and you can always contact me on Instagram at Comics with Bueller. And I'm going to be doing that every 3rd week of the month. So I'm looking forward to doing that. And really, that's about all I have on my end. I'm going to turn it over to Tom and give the mic to Tom for a few minutes.
Oh, thank you so much, Comic Fam. We do appreciate you for joining us tonight. Really, I don't have anything else to say besides, it would be great to have you guys like and sub to this channel, Comics with Bueller. The community here is fantastic. It's always a fun time chatting with you, Bueller. I think we got to just keep on doing it. I expect you to be on my channel soon. We're going to make this a regular thing. And for any of you who are interested in, more comic book content, I do have a channel. Would love to have you come and subscribe and see the kind of stuff that we do. It's very different than Bueller's content. I think everyone who's producing content right now, who's kind of becoming part of this, like, this community of small content creators, we all provide something unique to the comic book community, and would love to have you join me and my team. And hopefully you'll see Bueller over on my end as well in the very, very near future. We can continue this variant conversation, maybe get Russ on the mic too. It would be interesting to have him here, and then we can all have a conversation.
That'd be a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
It'd be good.
Very cool. Well, thank you, Tom, once again. I want to thank everybody in the chat and everyone. This was a great conversation. It was a lot of fun. I've been looking forward to this quite a bit. Don't forget, next week, I'll have Nick from Key Collector Comics on, same time, Friday night, 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You guys know what to do. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Geek responsibly, people.